What's good, family? I'm Nikisha Elise Williams, the host of Black and Published podcast and the author of the novel The Seven Daughters of Dupree. This historical fiction novel is about the secrets kept between mothers and daughters over the course of 7 generations and is told backwards in time from 1995 to 1860. I have an excerpt from the novel for you today. The audiobook is narrated by Bonnie Turpin, and this scene you're about to listen to is from the prologue.
Prologue. They cut off her head because she ran. But who could know? Certainly not Tati. She was looking for her daddy. Her mama Nadia wouldn't tell her. Gladys, her Mimi, wouldn't tell her either. So she searched for him. She didn't know to search for anyone else. It wasn't like there was a burial or body. No coffin, no cemetery. But in a way, she found her. In fact, she found them all, including her daddy. In the kitchen table whisperings and the basement murmurings, where her mother used a hot comb to press out her hair every Saturday night.
I hope you enjoyed that scene from The Seven Daughters of Dupree, narrated by Bonnie Turpin. The novel is available everywhere books are sold and in whatever format you prefer: hardcover, ebook, audiobook, and large print. So, if you can, please consider getting a copy of The Seven Daughters of Dupree today. Now, let's get to the episode.
It's taken me 20 years to get to this traditionally published point in my life, but it was worth it.
What's good? I'm Nikisha Elise Williams, and this is Black and Published on the Mahogany Books Podcast Network, bringing you the journeys of writers, poets, playwrights, and storytellers of all kinds. Today's guest is Christina Dotson, author of the novel Love You to Death, a story billed as a Black Thelma and Louise who go on a murderous romp throughout the South.
I love unhinged characters. I love reading about them. I love watching them on TV shows and in movies. I just think unlikable, unhinged people are just fun. I don't know. I know some people hate those kind of characters, but I don't care. I like them.
Christina draws inspiration for her infamously unhinged characters from her 2-decade career as a social worker. How the complex characters she works with in real life help her craft the imperfect personalities of the people in her novels. Plus, how she dealt with her own jealousy over the 20 years she was writing and working to get published with little luck. And the real-life news story Christina saw that embedded itself in her brain and took her on the wildest writing ride of her life. That and more is next when Black and Published continues. When did you know that you were a writer?
I think that I've kind of always known that I was a writer because it's just something that I've wanted to do since I was a little girl. I've been writing literally my entire life. It wasn't something that I pursued in school because maybe a little bit arrogantly, I thought, well, I don't need to go to school to be a writer because I already know how to write. And then when I got to college, I thought, well, I don't really know what I would even do with a writing degree because I figured that the only thing that you could do is teach, and that wasn't something that I wanted to do. So I majored in social work, and I thought that I would just continue to write anyway because I was never going to stop writing. And then after I graduated, I really started to pursue kind of publishing seriously. And that was back in the day where you would get those really thick How to Get a Literary Agent books. And so I would flip through those and try to find a literary agent, and then you'd go to Kinko's and print out your sample chapters and mail them with a self-addressed stamped envelope and then wait for the rejection that always came. So I did that
Not the
forever.
self-addressed stamped envelope.
It
Oh
was
my
so
God. Take it back.
I'm old, Nikisha, very, very old. So yeah, it was a struggle. It's taken me 20 years to get to this traditionally published point in my life. But it was worth it. Drag
First of
you to
all,
the post office.
I'm gonna need you to not call yourself old because I remember mailing off my college applications with self-addressed stamped envelopes, and you wait for them to come back in the mail. And if it was a little envelope, you knew it was a rejection. But if it was a big envelope,
Yeah.
you knew you got in. Like now they just send
Yes.
you an email. Yeah, that didn't exist. So
Oh my
if
goodness.
you're old, I'm old, and I reject that. Let's start there.
Okay. Well, we'll take that back then. We are seasoned and delicious. So there you go.
Amen. A whole meal, not a snack, a whole meal.
Yes.
This is gonna
Sorry.
be fun. So you've been working toward this goal of traditionally publishing your book for 20 years. What kept you so persistent?
I don't even know. It's been hard. It was just I really do think though, it's just something that even through the frustration and the heartbreak with the rejections and the jealousy that I used to get when I'd see everybody else kind of accomplishing their dreams, and I would want to give up so badly, but I couldn't because I just wanted to write, and that new story would show up and a new idea, and then I just kept doing it, and I just figured, I would eventually get close. And I did get close. I got accepted into these mentorship programs like Pitch Wars and Write Mentor. And I thought that those were going to be my chance to get an agent. Of course, that didn't happen, but I would always get just every book that I wrote, and I've written probably like 10 books over the past, I don't know, years. And with every book, I would get a little bit closer. Like maybe I would get a phone call from an agent, but it would turn out to be like revise and resubmit. But there was some promise there, and I would get into those programs, and that was always hopeful. So it gave me a little bit of encouragement to keep going. I felt like I was on the right path. And then with this book just like changed the game completely. It just felt very, very special, and it just felt effortless, and everything about it felt like it was sped up a little bit. And then here we are. So it was worth the journey, even through the tears.
What do you mean that this process with Love You to Death felt sped up?
So when I was writing it, I've never experienced this kind of just effortless writing before. Like it really, as cheesy and corny as it sounds, it felt like it wrote itself. It was just the words were just coming, and these characters were just talking to me in my head, and it just felt like I was they were just kind of directing the steps, and it was really fast when I wrote it, and I had the most fun. Not that I haven't had fun writing stories before, but this one I couldn't wait to get back to Kayla and Zori because they were so interesting. And then just the whole querying process, I wanted to do it differently this time with querying literary agents because usually I just throw them all out there. Like I'll query, I don't know, like 50 at a time because I can't wait. I don't have any patience. So I'm just like, here you are, here's me. I'm someone that needs the immediate response. So, but with this book, I just said, I'm just going to query 12 agents and see what happens. And then within 48 hours, I think it was 10 out of the 12 I had full requests from, so that's never really happened, so I was like, "Dang, they want me." So so anyway, some of those obviously turned into rejections, and then I had, like, a phone call, but it was a revise and resubmit. But the one agent that I always queried with my books that I really, really wanted didn't respond yet, so I was like, "Oh, no, she doesn't want it." So but she eventually did, and that's my agent that I have now, Melissa Edwards. So but yeah, just the response was crazy.
Did she remember you from all your previous queries?
I think so, yes. She would say, like, the last book that I had queried, she had asked about another book, I think, from a few years ago. So I think that she did a little bit. I had told her that I was still kind of just revising some things, and I would send it back to her in, like, a couple of weeks, so she was okay with that. But I think that she did remember me. Maybe because I was annoying, like, "Oh, here's this girl again, always querying me," but she
'Cause
always
you
gave me
sitting on 10
yeah,
books.
right, like, she never stops. But she always gave me really good feedback too, like, she would always request the full, manuscript, and then even though she rejected me, she would say why and, like, things that she was looking for, always give me the opportunity to resubmit, so
So then what do you think it was about Love You to Death and your characters of Kayla and Zori, who we will definitely get into because my God. Um, what do you think it was
messy.
about this book that made her say yes? Or do you know the answer to that question? Did you ask?
I don't think that I asked outright, but she just said it was a very fresh concept and she liked the hook. And characters like this she hadn't seen, like with the just this kind of darker Thelma and Louise and a black Thelma and Louise. So I think that kind of made her more interested. And then she really, what she's always said, she liked the fast pace of it. And she said the first line when she had emailed me about the book to ask for a phone call, she said, "This book is nuts." And I was like, yes, she understands because it is nuts. This story is crazy. So, yeah, I think she liked that.
When did you get the idea for this novel?
Maybe 2019. It was when I was driving to work before the pandemic, but I was getting ready for work and I always watch the local news in the morning just to see about the weather, to see if my hair is going to frizz or not. And so this news story came on and it was about this lady. They were looking for her. I can't remember if they were still looking for her or if she was arrested, but it was this woman who was going around to weddings and just showing up and then taking stuff from the reception, the gift table, and then leaving. And she was on camera and she had done this like across the Southeast, like in Alabama, Mississippi, Nashville. And so I just thought that was hilarious. I mean, I thought that was the craziest idea for someone to have the audacity to just to show up to someone's wedding that they don't know and then just to take stuff from the gift table and from the room where people have their purses and wallets. But I also thought it was really clever that someone would do that and get away with it. So well, she didn't get away with it eventually, she went to jail, but still, I thought that would be a good idea for a story. I don't know, it just kind of embedded itself into my brain. I wrote the wedding scene first. I wrote 12 pages of that, but then I thought, "Well, I need to back it up because nobody knows, like, who these characters are and what their motives are." So I had to restart it and really ground the readers in who these young women are. So, but the wedding scene came first, but it wasn't an antebellum wedding yet, so that came later too.
Just the layers, the layers, the layers of complexity from this probably 2-minute news story that's never left
Right.
you. And now we've got a whole book. Once you signed with your agent, with Melissa, and you started working on it, again, you said the process was going really fast. What was that like for you to begin to see what you have been working toward for so long finally come true?
It felt overwhelming and a little bit scary because, when you want something so badly for so long and then you finally get it, you're scared you're gonna mess it up. And when she had talked to me about, like, before we went on submission, doing some edits and stuff, I felt like I was gonna screw up the story, like, I was gonna somehow mess up the magic that she liked about it with my edits and that she was gonna be like, "This isn't what I thought it would be," and she'd change her mind. So, I just felt really precious about the whole process because I didn't want anything to go wrong. So that was kind of unnerving a little bit, me second guessing myself a lot and feeling like maybe I'm not as good of a writer as I thought I was because these edits are not going very well for me. And I was just putting so much pressure on myself. And then the submission process was, I don't know. It's weird about the submission process because when we were submitting it to editors and publishing houses, it wasn't as when the rejections came, it didn't feel as disappointing as it did with the literary agents because I felt like, well, this was like the biggest hurdle I felt like to get a literary agent. So anything after that, it is what it is. So it didn't feel as devastating. But I mean, that even happened really fast too. I was signing with my publisher on Halloween. So, or accepted the offer on Halloween. So, and we went on submission the first week of October. So it happened really fast. So Halloween is a special day.
Yes, and seeing as how your story is a dark comedy, I think I could think of no more apropos day than for you to get your deal
Right.
and make it official than on Halloween.
Yes. It was everything just aligned the way it's supposed to.
You mentioned earlier that you would have a lot of jealousy as you watched other writers get deals or people that you know come out with their books. How does it feel to be on the other side of that feeling?
I'm nervous about people buying it. I'm still looking on the Amazon rankings, and then I'll look at other people's rankings and see where they are. So that jealousy doesn't go away, even though I know that's terrible, and you're supposed to keep your eyes on your own paper because Comparison is a thief of joy. My mom tells me all the time, like, what's for you is always going to be for you. And don't worry about what anybody else is doing. But it's so hard. I think that that insecurity never stops. Even when you get where you want to be, it's still, there's still another mountain to climb. So
What mountain are you trying to climb now?
the bestsellers list.
Don't laugh because
That's,
that's what you want. That's what you want. Like
I mean, but that
today's
sounds
sales go toward tomorrow's list.
But it sounds so ridiculous because it's such a huge thing, but I mean, that's been the ultimate dream. That's, like, the big hurdle that I would love to, like, cross eventually if I could, but that just depends on who's gonna buy it.
But
Mhm.
you are here. You wrote a crazy ass book.
So crazy. Yes.
That your editor loved, that your agent loved, and that the public, I hope, will soon love. Can you read something from Love You to Death, and then we can go
Yeah.
deep into this story?
Yes.
Love You to Death by Christina Dotson is about best friends Kayla and Zori. They're 28 years old from a small town in Georgia and do everything together, from where they work to where they went to high school to even going to prison together. But their little lives take a big turn when their wedding-crashing heist goes deadly wrong and they decide to make a run for freedom through the humid hellscape of the Deep South. Here's Christina.
I am going to read from chapter 21. I just feel like this is a good passage that kind of summarizes Kayla and Zori's relationship as it ebbs and flows. Zori's hand holds onto mine so tightly, my fingers throb. She's been like this for hours, her legs wrapped around mine and her hand pressed against my shoulder blades. I try to wriggle free from her hold, but it's pointless. She won't let go. I tuck my free hand under my cheek and watch the headlights from the highway grow and shrink against the wall. Sleep won't come for me. Not tonight. The nights are always the hardest. My first night in prison, I'd spent hours wondering how I'd ever fall asleep in a place that felt so confined and claustrophobic. And then the shadow would come, moving and growing, and I'd make myself small on top of the bed. It was enough to keep me awake every night for the next 3 months until I finally gave into my exhaustion, only to wake up hours later with my cellmate watching me. I always thought nothing would ever be as frightening as that moment, until tonight. Now it's Zori's shadow that grows and moves against the wall, suffocating me inside this confined space. It is Zori who watches me in the dark and who makes me feel so small. I roll onto my back, thinking survival will not allow me the luxury of sleep. Zori sighs contently and rests her head on my shoulder. Her hand still grips mine. She'll never let go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Your novel opens with a prologue. In
Mm-hmm.
reading the prologue, I thought one thing was going to happen by the end of the book that never did. I don't know if I'm mad that I was wrong or not. I'm still sorting out my feelings. But what I do know is that this is the most toxic, codependent friendship I have ever read in
Yes.
my life. And then not
Thank
only,
you.
you're welcome. That is absolutely a compliment. Well done.
Thank you.
But not only is it toxic and codependent, one's also a sociopath. Like get
Yes.
out by the end of the book. So okay, but like you should get that. Like that's not a super spoiler.
No.
But like she is off. Friend, Christina, friend. Are you taking these people's characteristics from your cases as a social worker? Because I ain't met no people like this in real life.
Oh my, she's so messy. One thing that I feel like is like the biggest blessing going back to when I was in college and thinking about what I wanted to major in and thinking about creative writing and if I chose that path and getting a degree in that, like what I would use it for. Social work turned out to be the biggest gift as a writer because it is the best character study. Like you meet the darkest people and figuring out like the layers that are involved in them, the family dysfunctions, the mental health diagnoses, just all of that stuff is great for a writer to flesh out different characters. So yeah, Zori is a combination of a lot of people that I've met in my 22 plus years as a social worker.
What's the disclaimer on the inside of novels? This is a work of fiction. Any character resembling real person.
Yes, exactly. I don't think anybody would want to claim that if they were like, I am Zori.
I hope the hell not.
Right.
Um, but Zori isn't the only one with
Mhm.
issues. There's also
Yeah.
Kayla. And I think as a reader, I was really sympathetic toward her. Maybe because she's introduced first, and so I kind of like cling to the person that I meet first. It's like that's the
Mhm.
person I'm gonna ride for, even if I shouldn't. That's my own flaw. Don't judge me.
I do that too. You're
like that's my
yeah.
toxic reader habit, but whatever. But the thing about Kayla is that her character and her personality is grounded in grief over the
Mhm.
loss of her mother and how quickly her father moved on and made like an insta family with this new
Mhm.
woman and her daughter, right? In assigning those traits to one of your protagonists, were you trying to show the way that grief can manifest into the most outrageous and outlandish behavior if it's not dealt with?
I don't think that that was necessarily my intention, but I do think when I was writing Kayla, all of those things created kind of what she was searching for as far as finding someone to hold on to because she lost her mother at such a young age and always searching for that love and that security that she found in her best friend, and why those two kind of hold on to each other so tightly because both of them have experienced a lot of trauma, and it's a bit of a trauma bond between them that's disguised as friendship. But certainly, yeah, grief would play into that a lot, and just her trying to maintain that relationship with the only living parent that she has left, and her dad always choosing someone else is, I mean, that rejection also kind of frames Kayla's, I think, her ability to stand up for herself too. So that fear of rejection and being abandoned a little bit.
The fear of rejection and being abandoned goes toward both of them. Like Zori clings to like just random men that she meets
Mhm.
as much as she clings to Kayla, as much as she clings to the darkness of her personality. I want to talk about that. Even though this is based on that news story that you mentioned earlier about the woman stealing gifts from a wedding, as you develop their backstory, this isn't Kayla and Zori's first rodeo with crime and the criminal
Yes.
element, right?
Yes.
Like even in the section you read, Kayla's reminiscing about the months that she spent in jail and her
Mhm.
sleepless nights. They went to real
Yes.
prison when they were seniors in high school that derailed all of Kayla's would-be plans and have been ride or die for each other,
Mhm.
literally, ever since. Why, friend? Why would why would you do that to them? To us, but to them.
Well, I wanted to create a barrier for why they could never kind of be successful in a way, and why having to steal from weddings and work at this three-star motel where they couldn't make even minimum wage, why those barriers were set up for them to not be able to move forward in the way that they wanted to. So I don't know about your family, but in my family, like all of my uncles have been to prison, and they've came out of prison, and then they've gone back into prison, and it's usually because when they come out, they can't find jobs that pay well because they have a criminal record. Housing is always an issue. Like all of these things set them up to go back to what they know. And that's kind of like what happens with Kayla and Zori. They get out of prison. They do this thing that they think is just a silly prank. They have no idea that they would actually go to prison for it because it's stupid. But then when they get out, they're obviously changed and they're a little bit stunted in their maturity because they were so young when they went in. And now they're out and they're trying to figure out how to get their lives back on track. but now they have all these barriers against them. They can't get jobs that maybe pay better because of their background. They live in like this little country town in Georgia. I mean, all the things are set up against them. And then desperation always breeds bad decisions, so they go back to doing something that they find something that they figure can kind of supplement their lifestyle, and that's what they do, which is a bad decision.
Even though this novel is fun, you have layered in these different factors that I don't think people may always think about. Like you talked about the impact of incarceration and how
Mhm.
it contributes to this lifetime where you are socially ostracized because of your history with the criminal legal system, and
Mhm.
that sort of castigates you and relegates you to one status in life. And then also they are obviously African American women in the
Mhm.
South, in a small town where there aren't as many opportunities to begin with. So that's another type of lower socioeconomic status. And then as the novel picks up after this antebellum wedding, which we still have to get to, and they go on the run for their lives and go into all these different towns and places. They're butting up against people's prejudices, social media, other people's perceptions of them, and playing on
Mhm.
them in ways that are, I think, are truly indicative of your work as a social worker. And setting
Mhm.
this novel throughout the South, where all of those different identity markers are more pronounced and then more easily able to be oppressed or objectified, was that a commentary on what you were looking at as race relations in some of these identity barriers as you were writing the novel and just from your experience?
Mhm. Of course. Yeah, certainly. Like, I always like to write stories that are set in the South just because of the history. Anyway, I think it's a really dark place, especially with having Black characters and growing up in the South myself, being from Kentucky and spending 20 years in Tennessee, where my mom's from. But yeah, like race always has it definitely played a big part in this story, just because sometimes when I'm listening to the news, if they're talking about a shooting or something, and then you see that it's a white person versus a Black person, because there's always these assumptions that Black people are so violent and we do this and we do that. And like with Kayla and Zori, there was this assumption that they are horrible people, which I mean, they could be, but but like even with the antebellum wedding, there's a scene where Kayla goes into the bathroom and there's this little white old lady that is immediately scared of her and like clutching her purse like she's going to hurt her. That kind of thing, I mean, that happens. I used to work the front desk at a hotel when I was in college, and there were people that stole toilet paper and stuff too, like from housekeeping. But I remember working at the front desk and having these two old white men come in, and they were telling me how articulate I sound and how well I speak. And I'm like, "But how am I supposed to speak? I hate when people say that. That's not a compliment, because I speak how I speak, we speak how we speak. But when it comes from a white person saying that, there's an assumption that we are not supposed to speak, however, like intelligently or articulate our words or whatever. Like it's so stupid. And so those kind of microaggressions, I did want to include some of those in this story because I mean, it's happened to me, it's happened to us, so I wanted readers to really feel that. When Kayla's looking at the news story about what happens at the wedding, and they interview that little lady from the bathroom, and she's like, "She tried to take my purse." Like, that didn't happen, But there's an embellishment sometimes with a lot of inner prejudices, and so I wanted to showcase that a little bit in a humorous way, but I mean, it's still true.
It was humorous enough to make it easier to digest because you recognize the situation and you know that this could absolutely happen. And so I think that breeds empathy for your main characters. Like, I don't know if I was rooting for them to like really get away or not, but I was just like, y'all got it. Like, if you make it, I'm not going to be mad. And then, like, but if you don't make it, I mean, I guess you had it coming. Like, I was kind of there.
Yeah.
It was a very odd place to be
Yeah.
emotionally reading this book. Is like, I kind of want y'all to make it, but then like I kind of don't. Like,
I totally get it. Yeah.
but all that to say, we have to talk about this antebellum wedding. I don't even know where my original question was going, but why it's supposed to be their last hurrah, their last wedding crasher scene. And it's an antebellum wedding. All the guests are dressed in 1850s regalia and they go in anyway.
Yeah.
Christina, why do that to our friends? Why?
I really think, and I've said this in a few interviews before, just about Kayla and Zori's age, being 28, and then also with that incident that happened where they spent a year of their life in prison. So they're kind of mentally stunted at maybe 18, 19 years old, but they're very immature. And I think that when you're young and you feel like you are invincible to a certain extent, you feel like you know everything, that you are smarter than everyone and that everything's going to work out the way that you plan. And I think that that was how Kayla and Zori felt going in. They knew it was a risk, it was stupid, but they felt like, well, we can do this. You know, we've got 12 minutes, we're in and out. So what if there's Make America Great Again bumper stickers on the cars and people are dressed up like the Civil War? It's fine. So what if we're the only Black people here? We've got this. So yeah, I think that feeling of being invincible kind of motivated them to go through with it when maybe they should have just turned around and left. And then, but there's also that feeling of desperation too, with Kayla wanting to get some more money for what she'd done earlier too, and for them to kind of repair their finances. So all of that is a perfect storm for bad decision making, which continues throughout this story. So,
Storm wasn't even the word. It was like Armageddon for them.
yes. Terrible, terrible choice. Always trust your gut and leave when it tells you to.
Or before it tells you to. Like, just
Yeah.
don't pick better friends. Just don't
Right.
go. All
Yes.
of the warning signs. You talked about how fun it was for you to write this book, how quickly it came to you. And we both know that writing is work. And as I read it, I felt your fun on the page. What do you want readers to take away from this story?
Exactly that. I want them to just be entertained. I didn't set off writing this story to send a message, you know, specifically, but there are definitely themes in this story that people will catch on to. But I really do want people just to have a good time and just ride with these women on this story, this crazy journey that they're on. I wanted people to feel like they were in the back seat of their cars and just listening and seeing what they're about to do and just have a good time with these women. And I know that they are annoying sometimes with their decision making. Trust me, I get it. And that was intentional because, I mean, again, it's not like I was creating barriers for them just to keep the story going. These are their decisions because they think that they're doing smart things, that they are trying to survive, and these are how they're surviving. And to us, we know better. Like, these are dumb. Like, don't do that. Like, stop it. But they don't see it that way. They are trying to survive. They are trying to hold on to each other. They're trying to protect each other. They're trying to just make it without getting caught. And they're doing it terribly wrong, but they're trying their best. So yeah.
And there's one reprieve of like joy when they do like the little dance routine in the parking lot of the gas station. Like,
Mhm.
I love that scene so much, even though it was kind of dumb because everybody had their phone up and was recording
Right.
them.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, girl, stop. But also like, get it,
Yes.
sis. That was a nice reprieve there. What are you working on next?
So I'm working on this story that is another unhinged character. I love unhinged characters. I love reading about them. I love watching them on TV shows and in movies. I just think unlikable, unhinged people are just fun. I don't know. I know some people have like hate those kind of characters, but I don't care. I like them. So it's like a unhinged waitress who gets cast on this reality show, and I don't want to say too much because I might change it, but I like where it's going so far. But it's I love reality TV, and I've been watching so much of it this summer with like Love Island and Bachelor in Paradise and all these good shows. Of course, all my housewives. I love all those franchises. So I wanted to write something that kind of incorporated that, but not, I know there are a lot of stories that have reality TV kind of as a backdrop, but it's not the kind of story that you think it might be with that. It's different. So in a good way, an unhinged, wild, crazy way.
For having achieved this dream that you've had for decades and still having more stories to tell, still not losing the vigor for writing, what do you see for yourself?
Hmm. I would love it if I could have like an actual writing career. I mean, I'm 45, so I'm starting late with this career, but I hope that it's lasting. I would love to just keep pumping out stories and books and have readers that follow me along this journey. That would be something that I would love to see for myself, something that I would love to happen. And I hope it does. And I hope that I never lose the joy to write because I know that this journey has so many peaks and valleys and it's very emotional, especially just from what I see on threads sometimes. Like, man, everybody's sad and depressed, but I hope that I always find the joy in this because I mean, I wanted to do this since I was, 10 years old. So that fire hasn't gone out yet. So I feel like I'm still going to be going for it when I'm like 85. So
I'm gonna switch to a speed round in the game before I let you go for the what's becoming the afternoon. What is your favorite book?
The Color Purple.
Who is your favorite author?
I really like Rachel Hall right now. So, yes. I met her at BoucherCon last year and she signed one of my books. And I was telling her about my book and she said, "That sounds really interesting." And like, "Really? Do you want to read it?" No, I didn't say that, but yeah, I asked her to write something in the book that she signed, something like "You'll be a bestseller" or something. I'm so corny, but it was a great moment. And I listened to one of her interviews there, and she's just so inspiring. She's such a good writer.
What is your favorite TV show?
Oh, my favorite TV show right now. Is it corny if I say like a Real Housewives thing?
I was hoping you would.
Because I love the Real Housewives. Right now, Real Housewives of Miami is my favorite TV show. I just like the drama.
What do you think is the best book to movie or book to series adaptation?
The other Black Girl, that Hulu series was really good. I feel like it stuck to the story, but I know that she was the screenwriter on it, so I think that was a really good adaptation of that book.
So then, if Love You to Death got the screen treatment, who would you want to play Kayla and Zori?
Oh, I already knew this while I was writing it because I wrote Zori as Kiki Palmer. So Kiki Palmer would be perfect, but I don't know that she would do it because she just had this movie out one of them days and it sounds it like the vibes are kind of like this. I don't know. But she would be the perfect Zori. And then Zendaya would be my Kayla. So that's who I would want.
Oh, I want to see this movie so bad just to see Kiki as Zori because I don't think
Wouldn't
we've
she be
seen
so good?
I don't think we've seen Kiki as unhinged
Yeah, that's true. Like in
and
a
like
darker role.
and off her rocker like for real.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I would love that. I think she'd be so good.
If money were no object, where would you go? What would you do? And where would you live?
I've never been overseas, like to Europe, and I've always wanted to go to London. And if I had all the money in the world, I would get a little cottage in London somewhere and a little dog and just live there and write. That's what I would do. And maybe like a cute British man or something. The Duke of Hastings. I can't ever remember his name. Ray something.
Ray
Do you know who
Jean
I'm talking?
Paul from
Yes.
Bridgerton.
Yes.
Hmm.
So he and I would live in this cottage with our dog and do stuff. So so that would be my dream.
I wanna ask, so what would you be doing? But I already know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go to my next question, and that is name 3 things on your bucket list.
For going to London, I would love to make it to the bestsellers list. And what else would I want to do? I want to go to one of those tropical islands like Turks and Caicos or something with like just take my family there and just have like 2 weeks there or something and have the best time of our lives. So that's on my bucket list.
What brings you joy?
Oh my goodness, that's easy. My little great nieces, I call them my little squishy faces. But yeah, my nephew's daughters, and then my niece has a daughter, and they're like 1 and 2. They'll be like 3 and 2, and then Azalea will be 2 in January. But they just seeing them just makes everything just happy, just their little sweet faces. So they bring me absolute joy always.
What brings you peace?
Probably just being by myself. I'm an introvert and I get re-energized just being alone. So just being alone in my house, which is my happy place, just brings me a lot of peace and calmness. So definitely that.
What is your hidden talent?
My hidden talent. Oh my God, do I even have one? I don't know. I'm a good liar.
You know what? I believe it. I don't know you that well. I don't know you at all, but Imma tell you why I believe it, because of this book and your background as a social worker. I feel like you would lie your ass off.
Yes. I really am a good liar. Like, I can make people believe stuff, and so I think that I'm really good at those kinds of games where you do, like, 2 truths and a lie, so that's my hidden talent.
It is a skill. I don't know if it's a talent, but it's a skill.
Okay, yeah.
And name an author, dead or alive, who you admire most.
I really admire Terry McMillan's career just as a whole. I started reading her when I was a preteen, and I've never stopped. And I got to meet her about 10 years ago at a book signing. She came to my hometown in Kentucky and did a book signing. And I just think what she's been able to do has been phenomenal, especially for Black women writers and just following her career. And I just like the way that she tells stories.
All right, so our game is called Rewriting the Classics. Classic is however you define it. Name one book you wish you would have written.
I guess maybe because The Color Purple is my favorite book, I would say that one. That book just sticks with you and just the way that it's told. And also, I would also say Push.
By
The
Sapphire.
Yes. I love that book so much. And it's I don't know, maybe because I'm a social worker just reading it, but I like the way that it was written, the way that the character actually talked and thought. And when I read that, I that was a book that I read probably in like a day. I was so emotionally just invested in that sad, story. Is heartbreaking. And I've seen those stories before at my time
Mm.
Department of Children's Services, but yeah, I let yeah, I would have written something like that. I probably could write something like that, but yeah.
What's one book where you want to change the ending, and how would you do it?
I don't even know. These are hard. I can't think of a story that I would wanna change the ending to. I really do feel like every story that I read, I haven't ever found a story that I don't like the ending to it because I good or bad, I just love the journey. So I don't think that I have answered that question.
I don't know if you're going to answer this question, but I'm going to ask my messy question. Name a book that you think is overrated or overtaught, and why.
Any of the Mark Twain books, like The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, I hate that book. And when I was in school, I went to a predominantly white school after my parents got divorced. We moved to the other side of town. Anyway, I was usually the only Black kid in the class. And we had this teacher that stood in front of the class and she read like a couple paragraphs or something from that book. I don't know why she felt the need to read it out loud. She did not censor it. And we all know that book has certain words every other line, and she read those. I felt like she read them with glee because I've never seen someone so happy reading from that book, and it made me so uncomfortable. And everybody looks at you when you're the only Black kid in the class and they say that word. And or even in history class when they were talking about slaves and everybody turned to to look at you. It's just those kind of memories are ingrained in me, but I think that book is ridiculous and overrated, and I mean, I know that one guy won a Pulitzer Prize for recently for James or whatever, but
Percival
yeah,
Everett.
yeah, but I don't like that book at all. Not James, but I haven't read that one, but yeah, The Huckleberry Finn.
My final question for you today. When you are dead and gone and among the ancestors, what would you like someone to write about the legacy of words and work that you left behind?
That I did what I set out to do and that I had the best time doing it.
Big thank you to Christina Dotson for being here today on Black and Published. You can follow Christina on the socials at Christina Dotson Writes on Instagram and Threads. And make sure you check out Love You to Death, out now from Bantam. You can get a copy of the novel from Mahogany Books and get 10% off your first purchase using code BLACKPUB at checkout. That's BLKPUB. That's our show for the week. If you like this episode and want more Black and Published, head to our Instagram page. It's at Black and Published, and that's BLK and Published. There, I've posted a bonus clip from my interview with Christina about the unexpected pressure she's now facing after achieving her dream. Make sure you check it out and let me know what you think in the comments. I'll holler at y'all next week when our guest will be Ricky Fain, author of the novel The Devil Three Times.
When did this country care about Black people becoming Christian, right? And you can draw a direct line from like the Haitian Revolution to sort of like the Second Great Awakening in the US. Then it became this sort of thing where like, oh, you know, all that stuff y'all are doing, that's devil worship, right? You need to come to Christianity. And that's when sort of the stuff about servitude sort of started being emphasized, right? So it was a way to curtail slave rebellions, right? So in a lot of ways, yes, it was. Anything that was about Black liberation became sort of demonic in this way, right? Or sort of got associated with devil worship.
That's next week on Black and Published. I'll talk to you then. Peace.
What's going on, family? This is Derek Young
and Ramonda Young,
owners of both Mahogany Books and the Mahogany Books Podcast Network.
We really want to thank each and every one of you for listening to this episode. And if you enjoyed what you just heard, drop us a review and rate us on whatever platform you download podcasts on.
We truly appreciate each and every one of you for supporting us and making us your go-to for Black books. And we look forward to connecting with you all sometime in the future.
Thank you again, fam. And always remember, Black books matter.